What's up, everyone? Welcome back to our third and final episode of our Valentine's Day special. My name is Kwame Barbour, and I am the founder and CEO of Affluent Clothing. We are a mission based streetwear brand that promotes the idea that wealth is a matter of inspiration. While there are many different ways to describe affluence, one may believe that it all ties back to wealth and how we express our wealthiness. Affluential Clothing, however, would like to redefine this idea and showcase affluence as a mindset rather than a lifestyle. Through these interviews, we hope to expand the world's perspective on what the word wealth means. With that being said, I'm honored to be joined today by current senior and FUSA's Director of Diversity and Inclusion, Eden Marchese.
Hello.
Eden, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I just came from work, so work many jobs on campus.
We appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. For those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience on campus so far.
Yeah, so my name is Eden Marchese. I'm a senior, like you said. My pronouns are they, them, and zir, which zir is kind of a new one for me, but it's fun, checking it out. But yeah, I'm the director for diversity and inclusion on campus, which is part of our FUSA board, which is a student-based organization. And I also work a ton of odd jobs around campus. That life as a first-gen college student, just working any jobs. But I'm really involved in a lot of activism work on campus, and I do a lot of work in my different jobs to see different ways we can improve campus and make it better for everyone that comes after us and stuff.
Got you. I think it's important that you mentioned that you're a first gen student. I know there's a lot of people who do experience that, and that's very new to them. So tell us a little bit about that, a little bit about your journey as a first gen student.
Sure. Yeah, so my mom hadn't gone to college, or she went to college for a couple of years, but I'd dropped out. She went to community college. And so when I started looking at the college journey, I really didn't know anything about it. I applied to one school, which is Fairfield, and that's all I could have afforded to apply to at the time, just based because of you had to pay application fees. And I didn't know at the time that you can get it excused or any of that stuff. I had no clue. And so I applied here, got in luckily. And as a first gen student, I struggled for a bit. I started working with work study jobs, and as time has gone on, I've realized mistakes I've made along the way of things that could have made it so much easier. Like if I knew that you could just go to financial aid and just ask them, hey, I need money. Do you have anything? And then if you ask, the fifth time asking, they will most likely find something, or there's always more money out there to give. So that's kind of something I wish I knew earlier on in my college journey and didn't figure out last year. But yeah, I mean, it's been a very fun journey, though. I have a lot of pride in being a first-gen college student and being able to go through this process because I was able to help out my brother a lot when he went through it. He is now a sophomore in college, and so, yeah, I kind of set up that roadmap for him, which felt nice to do, so then he didn't have to worry about all the same stuff that I did.
Got you. So just to learn a little bit about you, if there's one value that you would live by, what would that be?
I think it sounds cliche to say honesty, but I think openness may be more of the value that I live by. I deeply believe that if you're open and willing to talk about your experiences and willing to be honest about how you're feeling in a given situation, it only lends itself to improving a situation. If you just try to keep your head down, try to just go through the motions, don't try to talk about if something offended you, if something was wrong, then nothing's going to change for the next person to come after you. And that's a lot of the work that I do is I'm always thinking of, okay, I'm going through a situation, it made me uncomfortable. If I don't say something, then I'm making it harder for the person who comes after me who may feel uncomfortable in that situation too.
Most definitely. I think openness goes beyond our feelings as well. Just being open to new experiences and
100%.
Uncomfortable situations. Like you said, just to make it better for the next person. We often talk about being people forum with others, but also creating better opportunities for them as well. So just having an open mind does go a long way.
Yeah, you need to be open to admit that you're wrong. You have to be open that, life experiences how I viewed the world when I was 15 is wildly different than how I view it now, turning 23. And so you have to be open to how the world is, and also how it is for each person, and how important that difference can be for people.
Got you. How would you say you measure success?
I measure it a lot by happiness. I used to measure it a lot by financial success. And I think that just comes with growing up with my dad is in the mortgage business. He's very much like banker guy. And so growing up with him, I very much saw success as financial stuff because he was very big on financial success. But as time has gone on and as my relationship with my father has changed, I've really seen it more as if I'm not happy somewhere, I've done something wrong. I've committed all of this time to something, I might as well be happy. And I've really tried to incorporate that into my life this year. It was my New Year's resolution was to be more open to this year being about my needs and my happiness. And it's been very nice because it helps a lot with stopping burnout, which occurs quite quickly for me with the activism work on campus. And a lot of people who are involved with activism get burnout very quickly.
That's good that you talk about that. Definitely burnout. We do experience burnout a lot, and we have to find different ways to cope with that. It's different for every person, but just going off of happiness being your New Year's resolution, today being Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
tell us about your progress so far. Where have you found yourself to be most happy?
I think I found myself most happy in the small moments. And it sounds, again, a little cliche, but I have been someone for a long time who I thought that I always needed to have a crush on someone or needed to be in a relationship to find that kind of happiness. But I've really tried to challenge myself in the past couple of years to just be comfortable with myself and to just sit with myself and just breathe. I have a cat now, so
Okay.
before I go to bed every night, I just sit with her in my room and I just read for like an hour or something. And it's adorable because I'll get interrupted and she'll want to play with the laser pointer or something or other. And I've just found so much happiness in that and just seeing the ways that my relationships with my friends have developed and how much everyone means to me in that way and finding love with life instead of needing love with someone else, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Very important as well. I feel like a lot of people struggle with being with themselves.
hmm
They try to stay busy or always be with other people just so that they're not alone with their own thoughts. So
Yeah.
just being intentional about figuring out yourself and figure out what truly makes you happy is just definitely good. Speaking on failure, what would you do with your life today if you knew you couldn't fail?
Hmm. Um. Okay. This is difficult. I want to say that I would probably, I would probably commit fully to being a writer. My dream is to get published one day, in terms of publishing like a novel or something
Okay.
like that. And I think if I knew that I couldn't fail, I would do that. But I also feel like it may just end up being boring, knowing that I
Okay.
wouldn't fail it. But that's the one thing that I'm gonna work. I love teaching, so I'm hoping to go into the teaching field. But I always am gonna have writing on that side. So I think I would switch it where writing would be the main thing if I knew that I would be okay with that and not have to worry about like that financial aspect.
Got you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you do have a novel already, right?
I self-published a novel
Okay.
a little bit ago, but it's honestly it's so embarrassing to look back at because it's very obvious that I wrote it when I was in high school, and so
You
I
got
mean,
started though.
yeah,
Got to
exactly,
start from
exactly.
somewhere.
And so I'm currently trying to publish another novel that I have worked on for the past couple of years, and I'm
Okay.
trying to publish that through the kind of the more traditional sense
Okay.
of traditional publishing.
Tell us about the one that you already published.
So the one I already published is called The Ghost. You probably won't be able to find it anywhere anymore because I want to edit it again and possibly republish it. But it's a romance novel. It's a very kind of cliche romance. But I have a lot of deep love for that book. It reflects a growing relationship within a family and how a daughter is trying to figure out who she is while falling in love with someone,
Okay.
and then also learning that her family dynamic may not be what she always thought it was. Her parents' dynamic may not be what they always portrayed it as when she was growing up. And it reflects a very big part of my life that was that kind of transition for me. I was just coming out when I wrote that book. I was just figuring out my actual family dynamic with coming out because things change a lot. And so I think that book, it holds a very special place in my heart, even if I laugh and joke about it being very embarrassing to look at how I was writing it.
Gotcha. You talked about being bored if you knew that you couldn't fail. So
Mhm.
knowing that failure is a possibility, how do you stay inspired and motivated every day?
I think I see it as a little bit of a challenge. It can be extremely daunting. I just faced failure. I face failure quite often, but I faced a big kind of moment of failure a couple weeks ago. I had just applied to a Fulbright application to
Wow.
teach in Belgium, and I was not chosen for it, which happens all the time, but it was a real moment where I had to sit with myself and say, okay, how do I continue doing what I want to do when what I was dreaming of doing isn't in the cards anymore? And what kept me motivated was I gave myself a week. I was like, okay, take some time. I could be upset about it for a week. I'll just not do anything in terms of looking for other jobs or looking
Right.
for what I want to do next. And then once that week ended, I was like, okay, it's time to get back to work because there is a life out there worth living and I'm getting there at some point, and I may not get there the way that I thought I was going to get there, but that's the end goal. Is I'm always on that path to there, wherever that place may be, wherever that paradise is. And what I thought was going to be in Belgium isn't in Belgium. Maybe it's in Maryland, where I'm applying now. And so that's
Maybe
kind of
it's
how I
just
say
not in Belgium right now. Also,
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's important to not internalize our failures. Maybe you not getting that opportunity had nothing to do with you and everybody else that
Exactly.
was a part of it. So
And it's
staying
just
positive, not internalizing those things, and like you said, just trying again for the next thing. Maybe it's not in the cards right now, but it is later down the line.
exactly the me that applied wasn't meant to be in Belgium, but the me tomorrow, if I want to apply again, might be. You know.
Right. Moving on to our last set of questions, what do you think you would want to be remembered for?
I think I'd want to be remembered for doing something that means something to other people. Everything that I do, especially with writing, I'm always trying to write stories that are connecting to someone who may feel like they're not spoken about ever.
Okay.
That's the same with a lot of my activism work. Is I'm doing things most motivated by wanting to speak up for someone who doesn't feel like they have a voice, or just move that torch a little bit farther down the line before handing it off to the next person. And so I would love to be remembered just by the people that I was able to cause meaningful change to. I had grand ideas when I was a kid of like wanting to be remembered in history, but I think there's something beautiful just being remembered by those that love you and those that you love, and being able to cause meaningful change to someone 100 years down the line by influencing a student in a classroom and by showing a student that they can be themselves and things like that. So I think I'd like to be remembered in that way as someone that helped someone else get to where they wanted to go 100 years from now or something like that.
Makes sense. So with that being said, how do you think you can increase your value?
I think increasing my value comes a lot of times with challenging myself. I am always cognizant of how easy it is to just stay in my beliefs as it is, and I think increasing my value comes with having that openness that we were talking about earlier, where my value is only increased by knowing more things and by really being able to see the world in a different way than other people who, like, if I just stayed in my beliefs as a 15-year-old, I'd have probably 100 of incorrect assumptions about the world and how the world operated and what was fair and what wasn't fair. And so I think increasing your value just comes in being willing to grow and being willing to embarrass yourself. I'm taking German right now. There are so many times that I'm embarrassing myself, and I'm just pushing through it. My face will get red for 5 seconds, and then maybe I'll get the next question right. And so that's just how I'm trying to increase my value is letting myself be embarrassed and knowing that it's okay.
Gotta be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think that's definitely the first step. In addition to just getting started,
Hmm.
you won't have that opportunity to embarrass yourself if you don't put yourself out there first.
Exactly. And you won't have the chance to not embarrass yourself if you just sit in your corner. You won't
Exactly.
be able to show that you actually do know something if you just stay quiet and don't do anything.
Right. My final question for you: what does affluence mean to you?
Hmm. I think, I mean, a lot of time, my mind first goes to like wealth, but I think that's just because of definitions and because I'm an English major. But to me, I think it really just has to do with spirit. The spirit within someone to really just go out into the world and have that confidence in saying, I am going to do something. I don't even know if you need to know what you want to do to be affluent. I think you could just be very driven and have that fire lit within you and know that what I'm going to do is going to change someone's life, maybe not everyone's life, and that there's that comfortability in knowing that you could be very meaningful and very important to at least one person. Because I think that just is an incredible kind of spirit to have.
I think, like you said earlier, when you were younger, you always dreamed of being in like history books and things like that. We always dream to have the greatest influence, but we don't think about the influence that we have on the smaller communities. The people that we interact with in our daily lives. So definitely an important way to think about that. Before we get out of here, is there any last words that you would like to leave the viewers with?
I would say be willing to make mistakes. It is okay to be ignorant, but it's not okay to live in ignorance. Um, Everyone is ignorant of something at some point in their lives. And if you're willing to admit that ignorance, I think you will see that your life will drastically change and that you won't, that fear that comes with being confronted about ignorance, I think will start to wash away if you understand that it's okay to have that first initial, oh crap, I messed up moment,
Right.
as long as you don't just stay there. And that's when it becomes an issue.
That concludes our final episode of our Valentine's Day special. Please tune in to all our other episodes of Interviewing the Affluent. Happy Valentine's Day to all. Please shop our Love Affluential collection. Hopefully, you guys will get beanies. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. See you guys next time.